evolution and blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, all you self-lovers. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. It is obviously Thursday morning, somewhere in the world, and in California and over here, and it is 10 a.m. as it always is when we're here. And we have an amazing guest today, Ashley Jones, that I'm excited to introduce in just a moment. And let's send a little love to Dawn Light, who is doing her self-love and care today. Just a reminder that if you don't know, we have a YouTube channel, which is significantly easier to find all of the shows, the past shows, the future shows, and it's easy to find what you are looking for in the moment. So I'm going to put that in for you, just so you know. So Ashley, I'm so excited to have you here. Not only is Ashley a friend, but someone that I've done deep shadow work with, and it just touches my heart when we get to walk in the world together and do our deeper inner work. And it doesn't have to be alone. And so that's something I've said multiple times. It doesn't have to be alone, that you can have a coach, a therapist, or a friend, or maybe even a partner if you're lucky to have someone like that that is doing their inner work too. So let me introduce the show and Ashley. Our thoughts, words, and intentions have an impactful effect on our physical, mental, and emotional experience. We are often at war with our bodies, trying to meet the comparison trap, the ridiculous high standards we set for ourselves, and end up creating dysfunction and disease in our bodies and minds. Ashley Jones will be sharing about accepting and honoring your unique body and essence, and how to connect and listen more deeply to the wisdom within. Ashley Jones, the creator of Up Level Love and the Embodied Breathwork, she supports people in transforming their relationship with love, both of self and in partnership, through healing core wounds and awakening the depths of intimacy, joy, and connection that are available. The groundbreaking tools that she has discovered and utilized can make a huge impact in creating the life that you truly desire. She was raised and resides on the island of Kauai, surrounded by deeply profound, beautiful nature. I can attest to that. And she is a human being, a mother, a student, a teacher, a guide, and a seeker. She spent more than 25 years on the self-growth journey, doing both her own personal development as well as cultivating the skills to serve others on their journey to healing, growth, wellness, and empowerment. For more than 20 years, Ashley Jones has been a sought-after body worker, energy activator, yoga teacher, breathwork facilitator, guide, advocate, healer, and coach, and friend. I just want to add that in. And she's served hundreds of people in an array of modalities on their healing path to wellness and vitality. You can find her at upleveldoll.com. So Ashley, you know that I love talking about this stuff.
Yes.
I know, I was like, oh, juicy. So what struck me there, your amazingness, but really this piece about, which is a lot of my journey right now on decolonizing my sexuality, decolonizing gender roles, and really decolonizing the way that beauty standards is what I want to say. And we had a conversation just maybe 2 weeks ago on it, which if you haven't seen it, I'll put it in the chat as well. It's really profound talking about what I mean by that. Is that, can you tell me more about our socializations and how it impacts us, or something like that?
I mean, there's the obvious pieces in what we see in media, but I want to go like even below that. Like there's the conditioning of the media, there's the conditioning of what we think those beauty standards are, what we think, and so we we put ourselves into these pockets of like, oh, I'm supposed to look like this, I'm supposed to be like this. And if we don't meet those standards, then we usually end up beating ourselves up about that. So that can be really dysfunctional within our minds, within our bodies, on all those levels. But underneath that is this layer of like understanding that we are all so unique. So I love the decolonization work that you're talking about, and that you've really like brought me into this deeper sense with is how can we just tear apart all of that and really be at the essence of the uniqueness that we all carry, and the acceptance, not only the acceptance, but it starts with acceptance, but the true like celebration and love of our multitude of uniquenesses. It's like, I know you and I fit into the standard of like the white female, blah, 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 blah. And so we carry all of the shit that's come from, our past. I hope I can swear in this a little bit.
You're free.
And what our mother standards were, and women policing women, is another really intense piece that came from our conditioning, I think, from this colonization, because it was how we survived. It's how we got our mate, our partner, who then supported us in the survival of our lives. Now we're not in that place, but we still carry a lot of that with us. So to tear that all away and to like stop identifying as those pieces is such an unlearning and then a relearning process to really love and accept, and you add age to that, aging, and all those pieces where we fall out of, or we actually jump and leap out of the reproductive pool. and and how can we do that with a lot of acceptance and joy and just real like celebration, and also letting go. Like there's also a that there's some pain in that as well, usually for people. And that letting go process, that moving on, is something that kind of sits deep within us. But if we let go of that conditioning, that unlearning that happens, then we can just have so much more joy and peace and presence, just pure presence with where we're at.
I agree. I always knew that this kind of social program of on a not on an understanding that I know now, but on a like I knew somewhere inside me that it just felt really odd and awkward. And I do want to speak a little bit to sort of this deeper level. What I mean by decolonizing, for anybody who's watching and listening, what I mean by that is that there's a way that historically gender, race, class, body image has all been used to create a social norm. So participating in a social norm means that you're creating power and privilege, right? And so in this idea that if you are outside of the norm, that you don't have power and privilege, and that you're less than the person who is either creating or meeting that highest quote unquote standard or social norm, right? So as I've been doing a lot of research, what I'm really getting down to is just how harmful some of these narratives have been and are. I don't know anybody who's not deeply touched by the social programming of beauty. I know men who are deeply insecure about their bodies, about their height, about their, penis sizes. I know women who starve themselves and who excessively work out. I know people who are on like medications to make their body attractive so that they can either gain the power and privilege that comes with attractiveness or money, or to be loved. But what happens is that they don't accept their true nature, like they're actually moving outside of their true nature to conform to get your, like, let's say if I was conforming to get your love, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna put makeup on and like do the thing, and if I sit just this way, that she'll be attracted to me or he'll be attracted to me. And in the contortioning, in the conforming is where we often lose ourselves. And just like my brother just says, hey, Dustin, I'm going to show it. Or doing harmful surgeries with horrible side effects to have a specific body type. You know, and I just watched a video of someone's mom who died during a pretty routine plastic surgery. And she was just like, because she was an Asian woman. And I mean, like, it gets so deep. And so it's like, if you step back from this social idea of what beauty is and start to redefine it, as we all redefine it for ourselves and each other, the more humane and human and loving and compassionate everything gets.
Mm-hmm.
The way we love ourselves, the way that our relationships happen. And I'm going to say one last thing before I just pass back, is that there is this piece that that I don't think many people talk about when actually redefining it, is that there comes a place where there might be a little cognitive dissonance, where you're still stuck in the social programming, and that's what you like, and you also see how harmful it is, and you're also wanting to be authentic. And there's a couple layers to this where, oh shit, I can't be inauthentic now and play into the social beauty standard or role or the thing, but I also want to get my needs met in finding a mate or a partner. And so do I play the hyper-femme role? This is very personal, right? Do I play the hyper-femme role and do the like sexy thing that I'm trained and taught to do? If I just, you know, like there's a thing that we're taught. And if I do that, which is not actually my sexuality or my expression, to attract a mate, then I find myself resentful, right? And so this is the deeper part of reclaiming, actually getting into your body, to finding what's true for you. This, I don't know if you got this, y'all, but this is an invitation. This is an invitation to humanize your beauty, your natural self.
Yeah.
And rant.
Yeah, I love it. It is an invitation. And I think that it happens, this piece around beauty happens so young, usually. So young that often people that I work with just don't have any idea or connection to that their true essence, because it's just that indoctrinated so young.
Here's an example. Can I give you an example?
Go for
I'm
it.
on this group, and I'm sure you've seen this, is like, this person was like, I really have this amazing connection with this man, and he's only 5'7". And I was like, wow. I don't actually know. Like, she's like, this is my preference. And I was like, but where does your preference come from? Like, is it more important that this person is 5'7" or above 5'7" versus the way and he treats you and the values that you share and how and I just stopped and I had to like step and remind myself how these preferences are just dehumanizing, how they're real. And what I mean by dehumanizing is that it takes the essence of the human, of the full complete human, and parts them out into this slightly objectified version of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah,
It is
totally.
programmed from infancy when you wear pink or blue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love to be in, you know, and you and I have been in workshops and things where you like the preferences get taken away. You know, when you take out your vision and you just feel and sense and connect without that thing, then often those preferences kind of fall away and you can meet the essence of somebody and they can meet the essence of you. And having those experiences has been so ripe for me to like really understand that the preferences are limiting. A lot of our preferences are very limiting. And
Yeah.
so where are our preferences in alignment with our values?
Say it again, ding, ding, ding.
Where are our preferences in alignment with our values? Like that's where we can untangle that.
Yes.
And then learn or connect on a much deeper sense of realness and like that essence of who we are.
Yes.
When we connect in with our values, is this person, are they aligned with what I'm feeling and sensing for real, not just in what they look like or how tall they are or short or hairy or whatever the things are that we deem as our preferences, Yeah.
I love
There's a
that.
lot of
It takes deeply compassionate work. It takes a deeply compassionate choosing compassion. It
choosing.
takes literally choosing compassion. And what I mean by compassion is humanizing the person, seeing the person as whole and valuable and all of them, like taking a step back to see all of them and accepting them fully in that moment. It's like, the pimples and the fat rolls and the saggy skin and the aging and all of the things, so all of the things like, and the accents or the, whatever it is, like, can you actually choose to defilter your perception
Ooh.
and see the human and what lights them up and how they move in the world? And can you love them in that place?
And what you're speaking to starts with yourself.
Yes.
Can you love and accept yourself? That's where it has to start from here, because when you have compassion for yourself, when you can really love and honor and feel like your own wrinkles, your own roles, your own, all this, all the humanness that we are, our own messiness, then we can do that for others. Then we can show up in place with others.
This is the nature of the self-love show. Right? This is it. It's like, can I, I'll use, I'm going to invite everyone to ask these questions for themselves as well. Can I love myself even though I don't fit into the social beauty standard? Can I love myself for the fat roll, for the aging? Can I love myself that I have cellulite? Can I love myself even though I'm not a tall man? Can I love myself even though my labia hang lower? Can I love myself? Do you see, like, there are so many social programs that aren't actually your belief systems, that it's social. It's an all social programming. Like, really, take a look at your preferences. Are those preferences aligned with your values? Can you actually get underneath them and find out where you created them? Were they created out of like a harm moments where you were a childhood program, or was it something that's been passed down to you from generations? Is it a social program? Because if it is, you might want to just look at that, because the judgments that you have on yourself are the judgments that you have on others, and vice versa. The judgments that you have with someone else. Oh, that person is. I mean, I'm going to tell you the thing, right? You heard this in grade school. You point a finger at someone else and three pointing back at you. That's the thing, is like, if I'm judging you, or if I'm using my preference to keep you out of my life. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you like to go hang out with abusive people. That's something different.
Way different
than choosing like a preference. A person's height or weight or physicality is probably not going to harm me. They're not going to harm my mental state or my body. Like, so it's again kind of coming back to rehumanizing ourselves, or to really see ourselves as whole, full, true. And really, can you love the places that you're either socialized to hate yourself or that you feel insecure about? I know that's the work you do, Ashley.
And it's such this fine line of feeling the desire to kind of fit into that, and also the deep desire to like rebel against it completely. There's like I feel that in myself. I struggle with that even in myself, even with all the work that I do. It's like this and you know, this little bit of a struggle as well. And I think that people, once you kind of can see that there is that structure there, that those pieces that we play into, it can be so crumbling, because it can break apart our identity or how we've identified.
Yes.
And that can feel like a death.
Yes.
And then there's the deep responsibility of awareness, and like how we are really choosing to play into that, which, you know, enforces it or rebel. And how can, my deep question in my life for a while now is, how can I rebel against that or release myself from it without anger or hate or disgust? Like just this another piece of acceptance. Like, this is what's happening in the world. This is what's happened in history.
Yes.
I don't need to buy into it anymore, but I also don't need to hate it and push it. Just like can I just be in acceptance, just like with my own body going through what it goes through, that this is what's happening, and people are, you know, coming to it in their own time, the best they can. Everybody's doing the best they can. You know, how can I just be in loving acceptance of that narrative too, without the pushing and pulling and hating and the tug of war that causes more discomfort and dis-ease in my own field.
Disintegration.
Yeah.
So, good question. These are great questions, and I think that, as my teacher would say, is just being with what comes up. Is like, because there will be some grieving that comes with actually looking at it. There will be grieving when you go through kind of a death. There will be grieving that maybe you're outgrowing the social the thing, and that now the people that you can hang out with or love or connect to are people who are also doing this work, you know, and there's grieving in it. And so it's like, if there's anger, how can you express your anger in a loving way that doesn't harm others? Do you have a community that you can share? Do you have a therapist? Do you have, you know, people that you relate to that are like, oh fuck, like this is hard, and you know, like it looks like being with it. So you and I learned some emotional release techniques, and if you don't know those emotional release techniques that are incredibly helpful to be with your feelings and to actually process through them without shaming what they are, it's a healthy container in which you can fully express. If you don't know about them, reach out to either of us. And that's one way to deal with the grieving. You know, I was really, really mad. Sometimes I go through anger. Here, I'm going to just tell you the honest. Sometimes I go through anger because what I see is sometimes what I see, and I feel very personal and protective about it because it happened for me. It was my experience. And what I see is that little girls are being harmed, or little boys are being harmed and socialized. Little boys are taught to treat women like objects. And like, it's just such a social program that I get so frustrated. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And it hurts my heart to see how it's being taught, genderized, or, you know, gender rolled or whatever. And then what I did and how I was taught to do, and how even though I'm taught to do that, I was shamed for it to get love. Like whatever I was, my strategies for love. It's a really weird system. So feel your feelings and come back to compassion. Again, I'm just going to go back to like coming back to that, like, how can I hold all of these, this crazy, I'm fucking pissed and I have to be with what is. How can we live there? How can we be with that and deeply love ourselves even though?
Yeah.
I'm asking you. I would help.
Yeah, no, that's like that is the biggest question. And that is where, you know, it's like, absolutely, we have to feel our feelings. Like stuffing them away or trying to bypass them is just going to cause us more harm. But to have those beautiful outlets that we do have with powerful emotional release tools, giving ourselves the going into, I love just going into what I'm feeling, just like giving myself space to be like, I'm feeling angry and expressing that, or sad, or whatever is coming up, and allowing myself to just be in it completely. And then I feel like in doing so, there is a discharge that happens where I don't have to live in it. Because if I'm pushing it away and I'm trying to bypass it, then it's just sitting and festering in me. And then I'm living in it. And so that's where I'm talking about that coming back to compassion that you speak of is really where what I teach and what I practice. And, you know, one of the biggest struggles that I experience sometimes in being compassionate with myself and with others. And yet through my years, my compassion has grown and grown and grown. And I think it is something that we can attune to, and we can practice in a deep sense. And honestly, I think that the deepest realms of compassion for me have grown from being able to sit in circles or one-on-one with people and hear their stories, like to really be real and genuine and to understand the depths that we all struggle with, has allowed my compassion meter to really expand. And therefore, it's more accessible for me and with myself.
And that's what it takes, is being with you.
Sorry,
y'all. I don't mean to break it harsh to you. Like, you know, coming back to the nature of this show is really that, and Scott Thomas, I know that he just left, but I know that he would say that, how does he say it? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher it. He says that what our purpose is to learn how to be more loving and compassionate, and first with ourselves. Because once we can do that, once we can expand our compassion for ourselves, then we can see other people through a lens of love. And it really does look like that. It's like if we're not able, if we're talking shit, if we're in here like, oh, hold on, I'm just gonna make some crap up right now. I'm like, oh, you saggy skinned, fat, short, ugly, I mean, poor, whatever, bitch. How could you do that? How could you say that? How can you not, why are you not whatever? Why are you not there? How are you? If we're talking like that, if we're judging ourselves so deeply, then we're likely doing that to others, the people that we love. And so that's why it comes back to that, like, talk to someone or talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend.
Yeah.
You know, like it's those pieces. Talk to yourself like you talk to your little girl, or, you know, it's these tricks and these strategies to come back into compassion and acceptance for yourself. Because once you get out of that kind of mindset for you, you're literally retraining your brain, your thoughts, your DNA to actually show up in loving compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, surround yourself with people who fucking love you, like who accept you for your radical you-ness.
Yes.
Who are gonna like lay on your stomach and be like, "Ooh, I like this dimple on your thigh. Like, I actually love the cellulite dimple that goes this way." Or who's like, you know, that thing that you're really insecure about. That's all bullshit. Or my dad would say, "Nice story, Vern." You know, like I use that a lot. So, like, nice story.
Mm.
What's real though? That you got some juicy thighs, or that you got this great smile, and that you're doing amazing work in the world, and that your values are deeply aligned with mine. Like, what's
Yeah.
more true?
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing that I love more than seeing people get liberated from
Yes.
that conditioning. That's like, it's my kink, actually.
I,
It's it's just, to see that freedom that comes through when there's that permission for them to really love themselves and accept that, and get right into the grime of like where they judge those pieces of themselves, that, and to see that liberation happen, that freedom happen, is like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
yes.
Because I feel like when we aren't in that state, when we're not liberated, we're that at war with ourselves, that internal battle that we have, and then we can't do what we're meant to do here on this planet, which is have that love, that compassion, that exuberance, and being able to share our gifts. When we're at war with ourselves, we're not able to show up. And so that liberation is like so juicy, so good.
And that's what I feel is true freedom.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
freedom is in self-compassion and in compassion with others or for others. And that in this sense, like, this is why all the spiritual teachers teach compassion, you know, is that we can actually dissolve
Excuse me.
we can actually dissolve racism and sexism, domestic violence, rape culture, all of these things from this place of of compassion, of dissolving the bless you
Thank you.
times 100. Um, yeah, and so I love what you're saying. I also want to bring in a comment that Ken says social norms. Here, I'll put it up. Social norm. Um, Social norms allow for civilized society. Not stealing as a behavior is one of an example of a norm. Not all social norms are bad. Totally understand that.
Values.
Yes, again, there's like there's a difference between a value and a hierarchical norm. And I'm often pretty suspicious, we'll say. I'm pretty sus about um, things that create hierarchies of humans. So anything that creates a less than human experience. So like, yeah, anything that might be, so how we stigmatize mental health, how we stigmatize size of body, how we medicalize and stigmatize through those things. Like, I'm often kind of paying attention to that. And yeah, so I mean, there's things about respect for each other, like not stealing each other's property, and laws that are created. But if I'm looking at, let's say, oh, here's a good one. If I'm looking at the right to marry another human being, and that someone could be, it's not right to marry a man, or someone who is of age to fully consent to marriage or to an experience like that, then I'm questioning what the values are in the culture and the country. That's what I mean by these particular types of social norms. the ones that create heart or brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to go back a little bit to something that I read in your, not only your bio, but in this the description of the show, is that what is like, I don't want to say. We talked a lot about coming back into ease in our bodies, how we can get out of the comparison trap that most of that is social programming, and these high standards, which are made up and participating for a particular group of people. But how do we learn how to accept and honor our unique essence? And how do we listen more deeply to our wisdom? Like, how do we start that? Like, maybe there's some of us who've been on this journey for 25 years,
Mhm.
and there's some of us who are just starting out. Maybe this person's just starting out today, like
So
watching
yeah,
the show for the first time and been like, how do I even start? This looks crazy.
okay, so I have a lot to say about this, and this is what I want to bring us through a practice with. But I would love if you're available to pull up that picture right now that I sent you.
Yes, yes.
So this picture that she's about to bring up is from an experiment I did with my son for his science experiment in fifth grade. And this is, I think, at the crust of what we're talking about right now. And this is an apple. We took an apple, we split it in half, and we put it into Ziplocs. One we wrote hate on, the other one we wrote love. And every day my kids sat there and talked to these apples for a moment. The love apple, they would say, "You're so beautiful, you're so juicy, you're delicious." And the hate apple, they would say, "You're disgusting, I hate you, you're gross." And they would go on and on. It was actually quite comical to witness this. But to watch what happened really rocked me to the core, and it rocked my kids. So it was just a 1 week that we were supposed to do this, but we kept going with it because, as you can see, day 7, the hate apple is just turning black. It's molding. These, by the way, these sat side by side on the counter.
Is this, can I just ask, it's the same apple, right?
It's the same apple.
Okay.
It's the same apple. We cut it in half and we just put it in these Ziplocs, and basically talked to it or sent them energy that was different. And now I do this work. I understand that our thoughts, our words, and our actions have effect on physical matter, but I didn't really understand to the extent that it does until we did this. And so day 10, day 23, the love apple is still edible, the love half. And this poor hate half is just mush. By day 43, we actually went away on a trip and came back to day 23 to look at this, and we were just astonished. So I know a lot of this work, I mean, just leave this here for a moment, because I just hope that people can take this in. Please do this experiment if you are curious. This, follows Dr. Emoto's work around water and blessing water and so forth. Apples have about 70% of water, which is comparable to our bodies. And all these molecules, what we say, we think, carries a vibration. It just does, and you can see it right here. It's obvious when we look at the apples to see the profound effect that this has. So when I look at these apples, I think about my own body. And if I am sending thoughts and words to my body telling it it's gross or it's disgusting or parts of me or whatever judgments I have on it, this is the physical and energetic effect that is taking place in my body. So for me, I think that this was a really profound understanding of how damaging it can be to really have these feelings and thoughts towards my beautiful body, which is actually a gift that we even get to be here and we get to move and we get to play and we get to love and we get to, feel all the things that we feel, give birth to babies or, what at birth to business, all the things that we get to do, travel, whatever your life is, walk down the street. That we get to do all these things and be a part of this crazy experience is a gift, and that we are given these bodies, and here we are, and by being at war with them, we're creating dysfunction and dis-ease in our bodies. And it was just profoundly obvious with this picture. So you can leave it up or take it away or whatever, but the work that I do in accepting our bodies and understanding and loving our bodies is just this. It's like, how can, and the thing is about our bodies is that they have such deep wisdom. Our bodies are communicating to us in every moment through sensation. And so being able to attune ourselves and listen to our bodies, because they are guiding us. They're guiding us with what they want in them, what they want us to eat, how they want us to move, if they need rest, if they need like vitamins, like whatever they're needing and wanting, they're telling us through the different sensations and the different pieces and parts of our bodies. And we just have to get out of our heads, out of our judgments, and to quiet ourselves down to be able to listen to this incredible wisdom in our bodies. So
Yes.
is a lot of what I do is guide people into attuning and listening to their bodies, like listening to the sensations. I love embodiment work because we're so in our heads. Our monkey brains are going with our to-do lists and all the things. And when we can just be quiet, we can go in and we can feel and we can attune to our bodies and listen to the different sensations and kind of gain that deeper awareness and that availability to even listen to the more subtle sensations, then we can start to have a much more deep appreciation for these vehicles, these temples that we have. So in the work that I do, that's like the number one thing is how can we go in and attune to it? And that's a big part of what I teach. And so if you all are open, I'd love to guide you into a little process like this where we get to kind of attuned more acutely to what we are communicating to our bodies and then what our bodies are communicating to us. So I want to invite you, as long as you're not driving, to close your eyes and take some breaths. In through your mouth, out through your nose is a nice way to kind of relax and drop in. Couple breaths, maybe just go in and scan your body for a moment and just notice different places, different sensations that are obvious to you right now. Like right now, I can feel a little tension in my left shoulder. I can feel a little bit of tension in my neck. I can feel some kind of clammy coolness in my hands. I can feel my butt sitting on the cushion that I'm sitting on right now. So just breathe and attune, notice the different sensations that are in your body. Just doing a quick scan, those obvious sensations. And now I'm going to invite you to get really real with yourself, keeping your eyes closed. And I want you to name, whether it's out loud or just in your mind, the things that you tell your body, the thoughts and opinions and judgments that you put on your body. I want you to bring those fully into your awareness right now and speak them out loud or in your mind. Keep going. I'm sure there's a few more. For me, I often tell myself that I should be in better shape, that I need to lose a little weight, that I need to, that my skin is getting saggy. So I have all those thoughts and opinions that I put on the external part of my body, just to give you a couple examples. So I get in and judge all those places. So just bringing those thoughts and those judgments to the surface, really being real with yourself. I want you to tell your body those things right now, because I know you tell them to your body on the daily. Okay, so that's enough right now. So go ahead and just stop those thoughts right now. Take some deep breaths. And now I want to invite you to keep your eyes closed and just go inside and be and feel your physical, emotional, and mental body here. Just go be with mostly your physical body. See if you can really embody this whole vehicle that you're in right now. And then I want you to listen to it as if it could speak to you. What would it want to say? How does it feel with the judgments you put on it? What does it want? Use your imagination a little bit. Just open up and sense what your body experiences and let it speak to you. And breathe. Let it tell you what it feels, and then let it tell you what it wants, what it desires. Keep breathing. Open up and just listen and receive what your body wants you to know, what it wants to communicate with you. And I want to invite you to go into those particular places that you have extra judgment on in your body. And let those parts of you speak to you. Okay, a couple more breaths. Listening to your body, letting it communicate what it wants, what it needs, what it desires. Okay, now taking some deep breaths, bringing yourself back into awareness in your mind. And now taking a couple cleansing breaths, keeping your eyes closed for one more moment if you can. And now feeling the depths of compassion that you can from listening to your body's wisdom, what your body is communicating to you. I want you to communicate again to your body. I want you to tell it from this compassionate place how you feel about your body, what you want it to know. I want you to appreciate it and communicate that to it. What does your body allow you to do that you enjoy doing? Just a couple more breaths here, just being with it, having this really deep compassion and appreciation, and like true, authentic gratitude for your body. And all of its functioning. Okay. All right. So inviting you to take a breath, couple breaths, just cleansing that out, bringing yourself back to present, blinking your eyes open, and just asking yourself, what was that experience like? What did you learn? What do you understand now that maybe you just weren't in awareness with before doing this? So I don't know if anybody has any comments from that, but would love to hear anything that people experience from that, or you, Trish.
I have a lot of thoughts about it.
Of course you do.
There was a deeper understanding of how this like idea or this I'm going to use this term. I'm trying to explain what I'm feeling, and I'm all like feeling.
Yeah.
So the concept of body dysmorphia being where you look in the mirror and you see your body different as it is than it is, and to hate that, and just sometimes from the eyes of the colonizer, from the eyes of the social beauty standard, I see myself as being less than, because I run estrogen, and I'm like, estrogen looks a very specific way in most human bodies, and it's just not, it's not true. And so in that, I really felt the I warned you that I might cry. I warned you that my body was like, please just be around people who love their bodies, at least who are looking at it and wanting to, and be around those people, like literally create community around that, about body love and embodiment, and and that maybe those people who are very like attached to the social beauty standard are your people.
Yeah.
So
I feel you, Trish. And it, what I found in doing this is like those things that I judge myself about, like, I'm getting older, so my skin's getting like looser, and my belly is getting a little bigger. Like these things that were more whatever, they just have changed in time. And when I look in the mirror and I have those judgments, but then when I close my eyes and I connect and I feel those parts of me, they feel good. Like my skin is so soft now. There's a different sensation of like the judgment of through the eyes versus the connection through the energy or through the sensation of feeling. And where we can learn to love and connect to ourselves and to each other, because if I can like love on myself, even those parts that I judge, then I can freaking celebrate you and your beautiful, unique, yummy body.
right.
And when you're in my house and I'm like, oh, Trish, you're just so amazing. You're so fantastic. I love all of that. And when we get to do that for each other, it's like, we really need to stop the policing, the judgment of ourselves and each other, because it's just so harmful. And there's so much love and joy and connection that can come when we do that, and when we like fully can be in that true, authentic appreciation of ourselves and each other.
If the idea of affirming ourselves and each other, and honestly, I don't spend a lot of time judging my body.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I am like socialized in the social beauty standard in some way. The only time that I do it is when I'm in the presence of someone who is very much judgy on their body. Right? So someone who's very much like into like shares specifically, I'm into thin bodies, I'm into that, I'm into these like, this, or who's actually really looking at their body and being like, well, I need, and I'm like, oh shit. And this is how it plays out, right? This is how we get into like judging. It's like, oh, if Ashley judges herself, then she probably judges me. And should I be judging myself? Like, am I not at the standard at which she can love me? I know. And so do you see this eaty bitey cycle where we're all just trying to love ourselves and each other? We really deeply want to stay in connection, and yet we have these strategies for separation. And so just, thank you for sharing what you did. And it really, like, it keeps coming up in this place. And that's why I kind of like queer spaces.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, these people are like really interested in the person.
Yeah.
And not what body they were either born into or it doesn't feel right. Like it's not looking at it this way. So what I find myself feeling really safe and really relaxed and accepting of myself and accepting of others and being accepted. Like it feels like a really wonderful container where I can show up fully and not have to, it's like a less stressed place where I don't have to play into, like I don't have to be anything. And that's a lot why I really liked, where I really like nude, like non-sexual nudist resorts, is because I'm also like, there's like whatever body style, and they just don't, it's like, I've heard it from multiple people, it's like when we take off the clothes or the identity, or the personality pieces, that it's just us and everyone's got a body and everyone's got whatever, and testosterone, estrogen and
all the parts,
that it shifts all together, and it just humanizes and levels the playing field. It becomes not about age. It becomes not about body. It becomes not about sex. It just becomes about me connecting with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that in a lot of places very rewarding.
So rewarding.
So queer spaces and nudist resorts are the places where I mostly found this. And it's hit or miss in other places.
Yeah, really true. I know. I love like just deep nature, deep nature with self. And, for me, I love holding space for people to explore these things and to go into it and to discover that and to be in intentional containers where we get to explore these edges. Because as I said, like that's my kink for like watching the liberation of that conditioning and that connection to like that freedom within ourselves.
That's so beautiful. It really is true.
Yeah.
There's so many. We were taught to not love ourselves and each other, and it's so sad.
I know. I'm always like, just be the love apple. Just be the love apple.
I'll be the love apple with you.
And it's a reminder for me as well. Like when I don't know, like I don't spend a lot of time judging myself either, but I just don't think that any of us can, I think it's through that deep awareness and time spent like unraveling these pieces. And yet I still have those moments. And so I just don't, and definitely, around people who have more of that, that energy or, or more focus there. But I just don't think that any of us can totally escape it, completely.
Yeah.
And
if everyone in the world was doing this work, maybe. But here's the thing: is like we'll go to a party, you and I, and we'll see there's maybe a woman who's following the social beauty standard. She's thin, she's beautiful, she's sensual, and she's really participating in the things that we're all socialized to find attractive, men and women. And she's getting the attention that maybe we want. Or getting the connection or getting the comfort that we were seeking. Maybe we don't even know we're seeking it, but that. And then we start questioning like, oh my God, if I'm thinner, younger, prettier, more sensual, like whoever fucking knows. You know, the brain wants to attach to those things. Like it's like that, and you're like, fuck. Maybe if I'm her, then I'll get the attention.
True.
So if we're living in a society that values that, and only a few of us are doing this work, we'll never be able to actually, I mean, maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, we'll see progress here, but we're planting seeds, you and I, Ashley. And
we are. And I think that those communities are growing. I think those communities are really growing. I think those communities are growing. Even like poor communities, even these like awareness, you know, all of these pieces I think are growing. And so I have hope. I feel myself in them more than I'm not in them.
Yes.
I'm in those communities, surrounded by people who have this awareness more now in my life than I am in communities who just maybe just don't have this awareness yet and are still playing into those norms. Not to say that that doesn't still happen in my communities, but to a lesser degree, I would say, to a much lesser degree. And so therefore I do feel like there's more awareness. And I have to say, I had this really cool experience in college, where a friend of mine who didn't meet those beauty standards at all, but she had this exuberance and this personality that was so freaking amazing that she would walk into a bar and all the hottest guys would just go to her. And again, she didn't fit those beauty standards. And I remember just being really like, wow, look at that. And it was a pivotal moment for me in my, whatever I was, 18. I mean, I was super young. It was my first year of college, and going, it's not about what you look like. Or maybe it's also who you are, your personality, your energy, your confidence, you know, and so I think even at that stage at 18, it was like, you know, can I own who I am? Can we each own? Because she was just fully owning herself and her attributes, whatever, you know, whatever they were. I freaking, she's one of my dearest friends to this day. I love that girl. It's a really powerful moment though to be in those. So when we get liberated from that and we can like embody the beauty that we are, and I don't mean just the physical beauty, I mean our internal, our personality, our energy, our gifts, then we get to walk through the world with like so much more, I don't know, ease and fun and pleasure, in my opinion.
I agree.
And power, like not the power over, but that like power within, our own internal power, empowerment.
And this is what I mean, and this is what the work means, is that it's taking out it's taking out all this sort of like unconscious stuff and bringing a priority or like up leveling priorities from less than something, right? So what I heard in the story, which I love, is that even in this moment that, or even in, you know, remember I told you the story about the group that I'm in with the woman who wanted tall man, that we place beauty or physicality at the top of this priority list of ways to connect, and then it's like, well, I hope he has a good personality, is what some of these things, like he has to now rely on his personality, identity, and how he shows and his values. And I was like, why is that the second?
No.
Like, did you see it? So even like, I love that she was like, ah, fuck it. Like, here's me. And that's true power. That's true magnetism. That's true self. And it's not about, you know, it's kind of hacking the biology, and it's hacking the social norm, and it's really showing up in what you called essence or personal vibrancy, the authentic truth and integrity. Like, she was in integrity. What I mean, I know that it's not the correct language to use, in integrity, but has, what is the word? It's when you take all of the parts and they're all in alignment, congruence, it's congruent. She is herself. She's honest. She's like, there's no pretense. She's just showing up, and people love that. And that shows up very differently and gives a different energy and magnetizes a different energy than showing up in the socialized beauty standard or class or the race construct or the gender, it, instead of like, I'll get some energy doing this, but it's not going to be that powerful, magnetic,
yes,
authentic energy that you're going to get.
Yes. And that's where I think, like, for myself now, in having this awareness and being the sage and all the things, that when I get into an environment that is praised, that like that beauty standard and everybody's just like kind of in that way, I will find myself at first being like, whoa, what's happening here? Or do I feel that those links of the past pieces, but then often I just like notice that this is what's happening in the environment that I'm in. And I usually choose to like step out of that kind of environment, just be like, this isn't really where I want to be. Yeah. And no judgment. Like, that's like, this is what's happening. This is what is in this place. And I'm just not I don't want to give it energy. This isn't where I want to be. So I usually like, don't involve myself in those environments as much as I can, not in an angry, weird way, but I'm just like, I'm just, instead of trying and fighting in it. And like, I'm like, it's not, it's not worth my time and energy, because it's not where I want to be. It's not who I want to interact with. And all the love, whatever, I honor that's where they're at right now, and that's fine. But it's just not where I used to be.
Yeah. Sometimes I get really feisty, and I think it's okay to honor the feist, and it's okay to honor the fight, and maybe not to stay there. You're right.
Yeah,
that's just where I'm at a little bit, because I get really, again, comes back to the protective piece of how much I fucking love humans. I love them so much, and I love children, and I love old people, and I love animals, and I just want to protect them so much from the things that were harmful. Not that I think that they're, not like they can't protect themselves and they're less than, or I need to victims. It's just more like, I want them to not have some experiences. Again, this is my stuff. That would hinder their full fucking freedom. I want that for them.
Oh, I know. I've got 2 children, and I think about that just every day. Like, how can I impart? How can I, offer them this vision into themselves? Or how can they, even more important, how can they see that for themselves? And then watching them, at times really play into that, and just like, there's again, I think why I don't have as much feistiness in me is because I think that the time in my life that I've gone through, and I've seen it, where I feel this deepening at this place that I'm at in my life right now of acceptance, of like, this is what's happening. They almost have to walk through these doors, just like I did, just like we all did. So of this, like, letting go and being in acceptance of that. And trusting, like, the biggest piece for me is like, I'm going to trust. And then sure enough, they walk through those doors, and then they kind of get those lessons, because they have to learn them for their own, I can't, they have to have their own experience with it.
Thank you. Thank you. We are all in the place and in the process, the moment or movement of the process that we're in.
Yeah. And in the work that I do, if I could talk about that for a moment, I'm like very, very, very passionate.
Right now.
What's that?
I'm putting in your links right now.
Okay. Yeah. I'm really, really passionate about working with parents, you know, especially with mothers, with fathers, because I think as they do the work and they embody that within themselves, then they can so much better guide their kids in just how they show up in their own lives. So I'm super passionate about working with mothers and fathers. And I have a program that's starting on Wednesday, and every woman in it is a mother, which is so cool. I mean, I think that this work is so powerful for absolutely everybody, but it's just organically come in that every woman that's entering this program, well, except for one, is a mother. And I'm excited about that, with varying ages of kids. But this program is called Reclamation. It's about reclaiming your power, pleasure, and passion, and really exemplifying those parts of yourself. And I think for a lot of women, or people identifying as women, especially who are mothers, kind of lose themselves and don't know how to where their North Star is. They don't feel a sense of loss of power, don't know how to access their pleasure, that often falls away, and lose a sense of like their purpose or their passion. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into these arenas in a group setting, in this intimate container with women, and do this work around aspecting inner child work, bringing forward the boundaries and desires, and really getting that clarity within ourselves to line up with the values that we have, and around relationships and relating, and the pleasure, like to understand. I feel like people in general have been just ripped off when it comes to understanding our pleasure anatomy and our energy. So giving this knowledge and this wisdom, I think, is just so transformative. And I'm very excited to share it coming up here starting next week. You doing okay there, Trish? I think you're like freezing a little bit. I'm getting the...
I am freezing a little bit. Hold on.
All good down.
I think I'm a little warm. My computer's a little warm.
Oh, you're getting all hot over there? All steamy?
Yes, I am getting a little steamy. I've experienced your work, and I've experienced you as a person. Am I choppy?
You are choppy.
Mm-hmm. Is my voice choppy?
Nope. Your voice is not choppy.
Let's see if I can fix it a little bit.
Your voice is pretty good, though.
Okie dokie. All right. So what I want to say is I've seen you in your work. I've witnessed you in your work, and I've also seen you as a person and how integrated you are. And honestly, if you're interested in dissolving some of these things that are holding you back, and if you're really wanting to reclaim your inner truth in yourself, it really is like, reach out to Ashley right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
And to just say thank you to not only our sponsors, but the people who run us out, like Sign Network and Summer Reamer. Thank you so much for your work and your love and your support here. I really appreciate all of the hard work that you are putting in for us. And you too, Ashley. And I just want to twinkle Dawn right now, who's in the middle of a cool freaking challenge for women. If you don't know, go to her. If you also want to reclaim trust, which is really silly. I didn't realize until just now that the similar names. Maybe you guys can team up. Who knows? Cool. That's another place to find work as well. And I want to say thank you to Scott Katamas and Love Coach Academy for being just rad. And honestly, if you're really liking our shows and want them to keep going, you can support us by just clicking the like button or engaging with one of our posts, because that really, really helps us seen by people who are outside of our general community. Like, hack the algorithm, y'all. Like us, and just say something or tag someone else in them so that we can start reaching more people. This is a volunteer program. Neither of us get paid, just to show up and offer our time. And our guests don't get paid to be here. So if you really want to help support this and the work that's going out, like us, share us, tag someone in the post. And honestly, we'll see you next week.
So good. Thank you so much, Trish.
Thank you.
Aloha, everyone.